This is Jonah Hill, and you're listening to the only podcast that matters.
Throw Gang, we are joined by the Sultan of Ceremonies, the Pharaoh Fusion. He Millie Rock and Eagle Rock. His partner Carol got him going out on a limb. Call him Marissa Cooper because he runs the OC. The only king of Leon that matters. Baron of the Bib. He must be tired how he got these Michelins going. The head honcho of Howard Street. Real H's moving sounds like Humberto, co-founder and co-creative director of Opening Ceremony, former co-creative director of Kenzo, and co-founder of the Shifa restaurant here in LA, Humberto Leon. Humberto, how are you?
I'm really good. That was an amazing intro. Really good.
Did I miss anything?
I think you got it.
It's a lot of credentials.
It really is.
You didn't say, created pink.
Oh, so there's more. Talk your shit.
No,
The Prince of Pink.
no, I'm just kidding. Anyways, yeah, a great intro.
Thank you. How you doing?
Yeah.
I'm really good.
What do you have for lunch today as a food guy?
I had a curried puff pastry.
Ooh.
That sounds
So
delicious.
good.
Little hump day treat.
Yes.
You did better than us. We just swung by Fat Sal's and grabbed sandwiches super fast.
That's great.
So we had 4,000 calories pumping through our blood right now.
and now we need about 100 naps. Humberto, thank you so much for hosting us in your office. The first thing we want to do, get right into it, is a fit check, where you are going to walk us and the audience at home through the totality of your fit today. The choice for you is, do you want to start top down or do you want to go bottom up? And there is a correct answer.
I will go top down.
That is the wrong answer.
Oh,
But
really?
you can stick with that if you want.
Yeah. But it's a cop move.
We're in your house. Like you make the rules.
Yeah, I think top down is
All
how I
right.
always look at things.
All right.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
listen. Go off.
Starting with the chapeau.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing a hat that's by Diesel.
Is it like contemporary diesel?
Glenn Martin's diesel.
Glenn Martin new Diesel, which I'm a big fan of. I did have a matching hat to my jacket.
I know.
I thought it was too much
Oh, yeah.
for this. Hey,
Well, it's
You don't
never too much
say.
for throwing fits. I mean,
I
but
know.
You're a subdued guy.
I'm
Is-
wearing. Oh,
Is
sorry, go
Diesel
ahead.
Glenn Martin's is that one of the most exciting things happening in the fashion world right now?
I mean, I'm just a fan of Glenn Martin's.
Okay.
Period. So I loved him at Y Project. I love what he did at Gautier, and now
Are you guys like friends personally?
We are friends.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you have the big Y project, like the gigantic Uggs, like the thigh highs?
No,
Oh.
I wish I had
Those are a
actually.
grail.
Well,
They would
Glenn-
match the coat too.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, Glenn, if you're listening, we know what to get him for Christmas.
He knows I'm a big fan. So yes, I'm wearing that. I'm wearing an opening ceremony polar fleece blazer.
It is
I have this,
robust.
It's warm.
Yeah, I have an affinity with polar fleece because I worked at Old Navy during the heyday of Old Navy.
Wow.
In the 90s.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. And
Salute Rihanna, part of the Navy.
at the time, it was called Performance Fleece.
Oh, that's right.
for Old
Mm.
Navy, and that we did a lot of
I
campaigns.
remember the commercials.
Yes.
Does the world have Old Navy to thank for getting you into fashion and ultimately giving us opening ceremony?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you, Old Navy.
Yes. Old Navy and Gap.
Old Navy and Gap.
I was there for 10 years, so a long time.
That's where you cut your teeth. That's the pedigree.
That is since
Wow.
I was 15. So
So
Oh, shit.
you gotta respect the shop boys and shop girls at the
Mhm.
local mall stores because they could one day be running opening ceremony in Kenzo, you know?
totally agree. I started in West Covina, like way east from here, somewhere you would never visit if
No,
you're in
definitely
LA.
not.
Even if I was shopping at Old Navy.
No, you would not. But yeah, so Old Navy really got me to where I am.
So
today.
gigantic polar fleece blazer.
Polar Fleece Blazer, which I feel like is a good, two worlds colliding.
Yeah, because it's 60 degrees in LA, so it's like winter.
It is. It's really cold.
It's unseasonably cold, it feels like.
right? I
Yeah.
think you came at the wrong time.
No, absolutely. Well, not because we're getting to hang out with you, dude. It's the right time.
So I'm wearing that. I'm wearing a Comme des Garçons vintage crop track jacket.
Wow. What
From-
year are we talking?
I think this is like 80s, early 90s.
RCDG, does that stand for Roadman CDG?
I think
Tracks.
it's,
This is true vintage. This is not like 2015.
it's major vintage. I think the label says Caban de Robe, and that was like an old label that
Mm.
they used to have. I do not think they make this anymore.
Well,
this
they have like 20 others that they
Yeah, right.
back
They just
to.
replaced it with
Hundreds of
something
others.
else.
Ray just forgot about it one day. She's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
exactly
Forgot about that one.
And then I'm wearing these vintage Lee jeans, probably from the 90s.
Oh, wow.
I got them in London on this
Ooh.
trip. I went to the store and it was like all this. I'm really obsessed with these kind of Levi's engineered jeans. Do you remember when that was a thing?
Like with like, is it a buckle back? Like,
It's a buckle back, but it's also a twisted leg. I'm convinced that in New York in the 90s, there's this amazing label called As For, and they did these pants that made you look like you were a centaur.
Fire.
So it gave
so
you
Kim
this,
Kardashian.
well, kind of. I think pre all that, but it gave you the look like you were wearing, like almost like you look like kind of like you had a horse bottom.
Like a non-invasive BBL.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a really interesting shape, and I feel like at the time Levi's was inspired by that and came up with this whole kind of engineered jean back then. And there was I would say maybe 5 years, where the Levi's engineered jean was a big thing. And it was basically ergonomic pants before we really kind of.
Right.
Trebien just put out a curved hem jean, and our mutual homie Jesse Hudnut is a big bridge. I feel like between the opening ceremony and the Throwing Fits Worlds. Shout out Jesse.
I mean, he's like the connective tissue with like everybody,
He put us on
right?
email. I forgot that's how it
Jesse
happened.
connects everybody.
He's the best.
He knows he's his own social media.
The biggest nut.
His own network. He's his own network.
Yeah.
Yes.
The biggest nut of all, Jesse.
The fattest nut, Jesse Hudnut.
And then I'm wearing these shoes that I designed in 2013.
Which you did flex on me when I was like, wow, what are these boots? You're like, they're mine.
They're
What
Kenzo.
a great LA moment.
At the time when I designed them in 2013, I think my CEO said, those are really ugly shoes. And
I'm like, wow, are those like 2022 Balenciaga?
Or they look, or like Bottega, right?
till
It's-
this day, I'm like, you know what? They last the test.
You're
of
never
time.
wrong. You're just early.
And sometimes that's a problem. I
Yeah.
think being early is,
Yeah.
Trust me.
being early is a problem.
Oh, yeah.
So
I think in your intro, it was great, but there was some formers in there. Former.
Yes.
So you were early.
there are some formers.
What about the t-shirt underneath the track jacket?
Oh, it's a Uniqlo like heat. I guess not air. What is it called?
Airism?
Airism.
Nice.
It's cool because you're wearing a polar fleece
You have
blazer.
so many layers.
Exactly. I need the opposing garment.
You're not high-low, you're hot-cold. Your whole heating system, your whole
Yeah.
HVAC system.
Katy Perry vibes.
What are the socks, though? Are you wearing socks with those stompers?
I am. They're Uniqlo.
Okay. And the panties, are the panties also Uniqlo?
Actually, I have this crazy thing where I don't know why I don't get rid of any underwear. And I run into
Gross.
this underwear. I
Do you
know.
want us to cut this part out?
No, keep it
You sure
going.
you want to admit to this?
And I'm like, oh, weird. I was like, okay, underwear from like when I was like in my 20s. But
Vintage.
the fact that I could fit it, I'm like, oh, not a bad
Oh,
sign.
yeah.
I like that.
So they're jockey underwear.
A lot of memories attached to them, I'm sure, to each and every pair.
Yeah.
I'm a big 3-pack kind of guy. Any 3-pack. So
Yeah.
I'm into a 3-pack underwear.
Nice.
I'm not into a singular $45 underwear.
Or like the 24-pack at Costco
Yeah.
or whatever.
I'm kind of down for that. Any pack, I'm down for.
Any
it.
multiple of 3.
Yes.
He's a pack man.
I'm a pack.
Yeah.
He's a pack animal.
Yes. And I like people who I don't think would make underwear.
Okay.
Like I bought Reebok underwear
Oh.
recently. Like we're not going to look for Reebok
We
underwear.
no, I don't think anyone in this room is an MMA fighter, so probably not. Yeah.
What about I see some jewels,
Yeah.
the earrings obviously, but the little the beads
yeah.
on the wrist.
Okay. So I'm wearing a necklace that I've worn since birth.
Wow. Flex.
It's in every school photo, every opening ceremony photo, every photo that I've ever taken in my life. I'm wearing this. My mom gave it to me at birth. And then my sister, my entire family has this matching kind of beaded bracelet with.
Your sister gave us the most misplaced compliment ever. She's like, "You guys are sound guys, right?"
Yeah,
You're like, "No,
exactly.
we don't know
No.
what the fuck we're doing."
No, we're not nerds. We're jocks. Okay. We just talk shit. We don't know how to put it all together. Okay.
But it has this little lion, and my sister says that you have to face the lion's ass towards you
Really, why?
For good luck.
because it's gold and it's supposed to shit gold on you.
Oh,
That lion be shitting.
shit in gold.
That lion be shitting. What about the earrings?
Earrings are my daughter's. I stole them from them. They're what they got their ears pierced with. And one day there was an emergency at school. My daughter broke her earring.
Oh, damn.
So I had to bring the earring that I was wearing that I got pierced in. And so we swapped and I took her earring.
It's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, right.
Well,
That's
full-
like a
full
metaphor
circle
for
moment.
something, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm always there to save the day for my kids.
All right. I believe that is a complete
Yes.
fit check. Yeah.
I think that's everything.
that's everything. We
Yeah.
got it all.
Yeah.
Humberto, you and Carol Lim founded Opening Ceremony in 2002, and you sold it in 2019, but you guys both stayed on as creative directors. But since the sale and since maybe moving to LA and kind of like taking maybe one foot out of the fashion world, what's the one thing in the fashion world that you were most happy to leave behind?
Most happy to leave behind.
I know there's so many to choose from.
Right.
I think maybe people telling you what to make.
Really?
Yeah.
You're now in complete control of like what you just make what you want to make.
I think a lot of people don't realize that in fashion, there's, once it becomes a business, it's always fun and really fun when it's
When you're broke.
less than a business.
Right.
And then once it becomes a business, you start to measure and you start to have people tell you what worked and what didn't work. And I think that's when a lot of the magic starts to go away, because it starts to become a business.
Right.
It's a
And
job. It's no longer
Yeah.
a passion project.
It's a job, but I think that, I think at a point in time, I go back to like my days at the Gap. And when I started at the Gap, there were these amazing people with vision called merchants. And at the Gap and Old Navy at the time, they were incredible. And they would, they would go and they would see like what Prada was doing. And then they would, I think in my mind, if I had to guess and give you like an answer, Performance Fleece came from Prada.
Oh, okay.
So
Like Lena Rosa or whatever.
yeah, like they were,
Yeah.
this is like the big Prada sport days.
right.
Mhm.
And all these Prada samples were in the Gap Old Navy offices, and Performance Fleece came out. Tech vests
Right.
came out. These,
Yeah,
like,
the tech vest.
yeah. So these like nylon vests came out, and they were really kind of looking and saying, okay, we're going to distill what's happening from luxury
Mhm.
and bring that into, there was a purity to this, because you have
Right.
to imagine pre-internet,
Right.
pre-everything. These people were pretty privied to either looking at, these really kind of high-end magazines, or the world wasn't looking at what
Right.
Prada was showing online and on the
Yeah.
on the runway, or what's coming straight off of the runway.
Right. You
But
literally had to be there to see
Mhm.
it. You couldn't
you had
browse
to
on
be
Vogue
there,
runway.
or you had to buy these really kind of like cool magazines, ID Days.
Right.
You had
Yeah.
to just be in the know.
Yeah.
But as a normal suburban kid, you're not buying that stuff. And you're
Right.
just really kind of looking at whatever you're looking at.
But you could fall in love with the tech vest when you go to the mall.
Exactly. And you wouldn't know where it came from. So actually, I think it's funny because I think in The Devil Wears Prada, she talks about this like blue sweater where it
Oh,
comes
right.
from.
Sure. Yeah.
You
yeah.
think you made that choice.
Yeah.
It was made for you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that it's interesting because somehow I'm lost in our conversation, but I think that
That's how you know the podcast is good, by the way.
That's how we're going to keep you here until 5 p.m.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, so wait, what was the question again?
What do you
How
miss?
am I
What do you
on
miss?
this?
What were you most happy to leave behind in
Oh,
fashion?
okay. So there were these amazing merchants at the Gap and Old Navy. And, when I worked so then I got recruited to Burberry in 2000, and this amazing merchant named Michelle, these people who just had a vision of like what amazing product people would want.
Mm.
And I just honestly don't feel like, I think now kind of looking back at everything that I've worked on and everything that I've been, I feel like I haven't seen that type of merchant mastery
Love that.
since then. And I think it's the fact that I think a lot of people fell in love with what it meant to be a merchant
Mhm.
and merchandising,
Mhm.
which is,
As
I
an
think-
art form.
I think there became courses taught on
Yeah.
what it meant to be what's a merchandiser.
The romance was maybe lost in translation to some degree.
I just think the art of it got
Mm.
taken away. And so I have yet to come across, and there's merchants who are my friends, and I love them.
And they
I love
suck.
you all. You're all great people, but I don't know that
But you're not artists.
I don't know that you're that magic that I once admired.
Merchant magic.
That
You know, because
that you first experienced in West Canova Los Angeles, or are we even in LA anymore with West Canova or wherever you're talking about? I don't
West
even know.
Covina.
West Covina. Shout out the homie was in West Covina.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at like, I think, there's a lot of like amazing kind of partnerships where Marc Jacob and his partner or Saint Laurent had these people that paired up business and fashion. And those were
Right.
like magical moments. Of where
But
it
once it
happened.
became a business, the magic takes a backseat.
I think there's a way to make it really interesting. And I think I think you just have to take risks.
Sure.
And I think as a merchant, it's part of the Bible of what you learned in merchant school
Mhm.
isn't the risks.
Right.
No.
It's how do you calculate?
How do you maximize
How do you calculate what happened last year?
Yeah.
And I think
Oh, no.
looking back at last year is the downfall
Mm.
of where things go forward.
So in a nutshell, the magic becomes math, and then everybody's sad.
Exactly. I mean,
Fuck STEM.
I don't think we're looking at what we bought last year and saying, I'm going to rebuy that this year.
Yeah.
Well, we don't really buy much. We get a lot of it for free, so
All right.
we don't really
So,
care. But
sponsors.
Yeah, Glenn Martins, if you're listening.
yeah.
Well, you guys just celebrated 20 years, 2 full decades of opening ceremony. What was your personal highlight from those 2 decades of OC?
Big question.
Damn. Personal highlights from 20 years of opening ceremony. I mean, I don't know. Is it like working with like Chloe Sevigny, Spike Jones, Maurizio Catalan, Yoko Ono,
Riri.
Pendleton Esprit,
Mhm.
Vans telling me that I started their women's business.
Wow.
Me discovering Havaianas at a,
That's right.
grocery store in Brazil. And now it's an international business.
$1 billion business.
Wow. From Brazil to the world.
Yeah. I think just like all these kind of amazing and just like, I think all the cool people that we championed from the beginning, JW Anderson, Jack and Moose, Maureen Sayre, you name it, all these designers who are like people, Glenn Martin, all these people that like I love and I love what they do and seeing their rise.
Yeah.
And
opening ceremony was truly a platform
Mm-hmm.
and like almost not an incubator, but like it allowed so many more people to discover these brands that you and Carol like scoured the world finding.
yeah, it was a discovery zone.
Discovery zone.
Yeah.
That's what it was. What was the low light, Humberto?
What was the what?
What was the low light of the last 2 decades?
The low light of the last 2 decades.
I know you've stuffed it deep down into a little black box, but let's pick at that.
Yeah.
scab.
Let's air out the trauma.
Probably the store's closing.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
I think like that
That
felt
sucked.
like a time shift for I think for
Or like-
myself and
like
probably
a line
for-
of demarcation.
yeah, I think that like there was an opening ceremony store and I think everybody remembers that moment. And then there's not the opening ceremony
Yeah.
store.
Howard Street doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that to the real
Well,
estate people.
The fashion shows and parties that you guys did were always way over the top, grandiose affairs. Do you have a favorite opening ceremony fashion show? You mentioned like some of the people you collaborated with on them.
I mean, I think my first show in 2012 was it's so hard to say. I'm just going to go down memory lane.
Mhm.
But the first one we did was based on this kind of like Asian car culture that I grew up with in San Gabriel Valley. And it's cool that I could point over here and it makes sense now.
Is this the one that was like on the west side and like
It was on the west
Rihanna
side.
was there?
Rihanna was there.
Yeah, my invite was maybe lost in the mail.
Shut up and drive.
And there were it was on the pier, it was blacked out, and we worked with this New Jersey guy who had a network of luxury cars, so it was every like luxury car you can imagine, and it was like parked behind this curtain, and all of a sudden the music came on and all the headlights came
Sick.
on, and the first thing you heard was Rihanna scream. I mean,
Yeah.
that was pretty iconic.
That's crazy.
And then all the models were in the cars parked on the runway. And then one by one, the models were coming out of the car. And then at the end, when the last model walked the runway, there was like what we called the stormtrooper of like male models that came out and like did the thing. And it was super fun. It was like a collection that was based on this car culture and these like, you would kind of like fit your cars out, but they were like Toyota Corollas. And
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
like nothing
This
that
is like Fast and the Furious
Yeah,
like type.
and
Yeah.
it would say like Mugen Power, and it would be like all this like cool like car lingo, but just on your everyday car.
So everyone listening should Google this. This is OC 2012.
OC 2012.
And I guess what I'm hearing is you always remember your first, right? That's,
yeah, I mean, that was
That's
an
it.
amazing first. I mean,
Pop the cherry.
Spike Jones and I have had a long history.
Mhm.
And so, he and I have done a lot of firsts together. And so we did his first play and his first musical ever. First and only play, first and only musical. One was on the stage of the Met, and it was called Lost Cotton. And he wrote this story. It's kind of cool because I feel like he has this way of like predicting the future, like with her and how we're living through that now. But
Don't talk about my girlfriend like that.
What's that? Oh, sorry.
Don't talk about my girlfriend like that.
She's
Okay.
here. She's in
Yeah,
there.
she's right here. She's listening.
But so, yeah, it was the show was about Carol and I, basically like opening ceremony was getting to a place where we were probably going to end it. So it was kind of interesting foreshadowing.
Oh, so
of like,
he saw the ending of the OC, at least the
He
retail
sensed
side.
it.
it wasn't an ending, but he wrote this fictionalized
Okay.
story about she and I, kind of like, I think it was about two people who like were really, really close. And this is fictionalized because Carol and I are still really close, but like coming really close. And then at some point when the business is X, Y, and Z, we start to like pull apart.
Drift.
Was that awkward to be like,
Yeah, you're
to
like,
be
wait a
Spike,
second.
what the fuck?
You're like, are we giving off these cursed vibes?
I mean, Catherine Keener is playing Carol.
who played you?
John Cameron Mitchell played
Wow.
me.
Okay.
Bobby Cannavale played this, a stylist, and Elle Fanning and Drew Hemingway played models that were coming in for fittings. Rashida Jones was like,
Damn, what a cast.
stage
Yeah,
hand.
star-studded. What the hell?
Yeah, it was like a huge, incredible cast, and
Spike Jones going for his EGOT.
Yeah, right.
and it was cool because you entered the Met through the stage, and so the audience all sat on stage, and when the show opened, the whole play took place in the audience area.
That's cool.
Oh, that's right. So the audience was like on. Yeah. I remember this. It was kind of like a little flip. Yeah.
So it was cool.
Wow.
So that was really cool. And then we did a musical together that was
With Spike.
with Spike, and that was like one of my absolute favorite shows that I've ever done. We ran it because I always like, you put so much into a fashion show, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's a 12-minute affair.
Right.
And it comes and goes, and it's 400 shows later. And I've always said, anything I work on, I want people to look back and be like, fuck, I wish I was there. Like, it had to have that, like, I wish I was there.
You want to
moment.
inspire FOMO on a all-time level.
And I'm king of FOMO, so you needed to be there.
Well, 5 years later, Lawrence and I still feel that way.
See?
Yeah, right.
Who was
Works.
doing your PR?
But so we ran that show for 2 weeks.
Oh, shit.
And
So that's kind of on us that we missed it.
exactly. And we sold tickets first to students for $20, $15 to buy a ticket. And it sold out within like an hour. And it was so we sold it to all students in New York City. And it was cool. It was like, it was his first ever musical.
He must have been stoked just as much as you, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was.
That's a good collaboration is what everyone's excited, right?
Well, I always work under this dream come true mentality. So at the end of this, tell me what you want, and let's make it happen.
Right. It's a manifest.
But that's always been like, as a collaborator, I've always asked people, I'm like, what would your dream scenario be?
I want to make Where the Wild Things Are X opening ceremony.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. But that was how I worked with Chloe. That's how I worked with Yoko Ono. It was always like, what do you wish you did that you never have done before?
Between all yourself and all your former collaborators and partner Carol, Chloe, Rihanna, who has the swaggiest children?
The swag is what?
The swaggiest children.
Oh, children?
Like, does your daughter get fucking fits off?
Yeah. Who spends the most money on their kids is what he's asking.
Spending money? I'm not
asking.
sure.
I'm not asking that.
I mean, Chloe's son she's cool because she takes a lot, almost only hand-me-downs from dual genders. So her kid dresses pretty rad.
Fire.
Very progressive.
Yeah.
Who are your favorite fashion people to party with? Because like OC used to get after it. I'm sure it's dad life now, but I'm sure you still have dad's gone wild night out here and there.
I honestly just like to hang out with friends. So I
Low
think
key.
low key friends. I mean, it ranges from like my best friend from 5th grade. Her name is Mimi.
Mimi.
Like I hang out with her all the time. Or Bobby, my best friend from 7th grade.
Cannavale.
Yeah, no. Or like Solange, or people who I've known for 20 years who I could just kind of talk about whatever. Like those are my favorite people to like.
The day one homies.
Yes.
So day one is Solange.
Yes. I mean, maybe day 28 years old.
Yeah, that's somewhere.
30
somewhere
years
in there.
Well, at the opening ceremony stores, I mean, you guys are always known for surfacing and championing emerging brands. Like, are you still paying attention to the people and the brands that are bubbling up right now?
I am, and I look at it like as if I still have opening ceremony. I'm like, oh, like I would buy that, or I buy that.
Who's catching your eye right now?
Yeah, put us on.
I can tell you.
This will be public
what if I want to do a
information.
store one day?
Oh shit! You're gatekeeping?
Yeah. Why am I going to tell you for it now? I'm just kidding. I mean, there's so many. I think there's so many young. I mean, my favorite is really just these kind of brands that are doing stuff on Instagram and like, not. I'm less concerned about like the shows that are like the runway shows that are happening and stuff. I feel like the business model needs to change. So I'm excited for people who are like selling directly to people.
Just off like only
timeline.
operating on IG.
Yes, or getting people's attention through IG and just kind of like there's this really cool this brand called Pronounce that I really like, and I think they're based out of London or China. I don't know. But they're cool.
It's a big range. Somewhere.
I think it's a Chinese person. I don't know where he lives.
Okay.
He or she lives. I think they live in.
They live
London.
on your phone.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Like we all do.
Just like Spike Jones is her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another great collab when you guys did a capsule collection for her, right?
We did.
Very stylish movie.
I was a part of the movie from the beginning, like just kind of hearing
were you consulting on costumes or?
I mean, I would say as a friend, Spike and I are constantly involved in every project that we work on for the last 15 years.
Amazing.
Is that how you got into Jackass Forever?
That's just a call. I had no idea I was going to be in the open. I didn't know I was going to be the first human that you were going to see.
That's right. I mean, I was definitely Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, oh, it's Humberto.
And then Chris Pontius' penis.
You know what's amazing is my mom filmed it. That's my mom sitting across from me.
Okay, yeah.
And she didn't know what Jackass was.
What did she think of Chris Pontius' giant lizard penis?
She went to the premiere and she was like wanting to invite all these friends. I was like, Mom, I don't think you want your friends there.
Be careful what you wish for, Mom.
I was like, this is not, because she was in her. She was in her for
really?
10 seconds. She was the
10 seconds is a long
She was
time.
like the grocery store. She had a speaking line. She was in the grocery store with Joaquin as they were laughing and picking out fruits and all this stuff. And they were talking.
Sick.
And, in her mind, she was like, oh my God, people talk about her and how they saw me. And this is going to be that same thing.
And Spike won an Oscar.
Yeah. And so this was a very different situation.
Was she shocked and appalled at what she ended up seeing?
She, in her words, she said, disgusting.
Besides Spike Jones, who else has the range to have a part in both her and Jackass Forever?
Exactly.
Right?
It's true.
Your mom's got
Your
the
mom's
range.
iconic, dude.
Yeah. She's the Meryl Streep of Spike Jones, the Spike Jones universe.
She's versatile.
Yeah.
She can do so many things.
Real quick, pivoting away from opening ceremony, your time at Kenzo, right? You were co-creative director for 7 years? 6 or 7?
2012 to what?
19? 18?
19.
Yeah. What was it like inside the LVMH machine? Was it like, I mean, that was a huge operation. I mean, a different universe than the opening ceremony world that you came from, right?
Yeah, but you know what? I was the same in that I was just like a kid in a corporate office. And we were really rebellious and we kind of just did it our way. And I think it was cool because when we joined, the business was just really unsuccessful.
Yeah.
I think it was like not worth much, and it was bleeding at the time. And the fact that we went in there and within one season flipped those numbers around,
Sure.
I think they were like, oh shit, like
Keep doing what you're
let's
doing.
let these kids just do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I really approached it as, okay, I'm a massive, massive fan of fashion, and I look at every campaign and I look at everything, and I was like, I'm not going to do any of that. And I was like, I was like, we could have just gone that route and hired all those incredible makeup artists and photographers who I love.
Right.
Till this day, I love them all. But I was like, that's just not what I'm going to do.
Right.
Like, I'm going to do something totally different. I'm going to use the marketing money and make things that we can look back on in 20 years and be like, oh shit, remember that thing happened? And hopefully that's what happened.
Lo and behold. I mean, one Tiger Tea.
No, that's
flipped the script.
right. Didn't they not want you to make those? Is that an anecdote that's true? Where
So
you got
what-
resistance and then it became this huge like piece of the era.
So what happened was my first show ever. I designed this collection, and it was, I worked with the people at Ellsworth Kelly's. We made this really, I was really excited about this Ellsworth Kelly collection because Kenzo Takata was really inspired by art, and I wanted to make this kind of modern correlation of that. And I remember Jason Schwartzman did the music. He played the music. We did a David Byrne song.
Sick.
Spike,
Fire.
he like documented the entire process from us making the clothes to the show. So it was all friends. Chloe walked the show.
Yep.
It was like really fun. And I remember saying to them, hey, I want to make a Kenzo. I brought the word Paris back, and they were like, why are you doing that? They're like, that's not modern. And I was like, dude, I want to know that this is a Parisian company.
Right,
like,
Right.
you and I know that, but does everyone else know
Right,
that? And they
totally.
were like, it's passé to bring that word Paris back. And I was like, I don't care. So I was like, oh, I want to make like a logo sweatshirt. And they were like, it's promotionnel. They're like, that's called promotionnel. Like, you get that for free with
Right,
perfume.
Qu'est-ce que c'est merch?
And I was like, oh, I don't care. I was like, I want to make that. And so I remember making it, and, classic Americana. It had like our prints in the letters, and it was kind of sewn on like a Letterman jacket. And they were like, yeah, make 20 of those. Like, no big deal. And I wore one at the runway. That was like what I wore at the end of the runway. And I was like, we should put these in the line. They're like, no. That's not fashion. And I was like, I don't care. I was like, we should put that in. And so it's funny because I think that, and people bought the collection and people were excited.
But that one sweater
Yeah.
went bonkers.
That sweater then started to like hit. And all of a sudden they were like, and that wasn't on the runway, but it was on me.
right.
And I somehow I felt like I needed to use myself, even though I'm not a model, but
Right.
I knew that there'd be a photo of me.
Sure,
at the
yeah.
end of the
Taking your
runway,
bow. Yeah.
That I had to use that in my favor.
Yeah.
And because they wouldn't, I knew at the time they wouldn't let me.
Because the
put
only
that
way
in.
I'd make it into
You
like
had
the
to,
roundup.
you had to
for the collection.
force their hand.
I had to force them to make, so that we put that in, and that started to sell. And people were like, wait, like we don't have a sweatshirt section on the form. And I was like, I don't care, figure it out. And so they did, and we made that. It was sold, it did well. And then the second season, I made this sweater, this like really kind of cool Intarsia tiger sweater. And it was all inspired by interiors. I had Delfina Del Torres, who's the daughter of Fendi. She made all the jewelry for us. And it was a whole jungle collection, really arcing back to the brand's history. And, we kind of made this like faux tiger rug sweater, really kind of going back to some of and there was a little tiger, I remember, inside. So Kenzo had really never used the tiger in a big way. It was just a little tiger on the inside of the pants. And I was like, let's make that a thing. And so that was the beginning of it. And I remember thinking, I was like, how much is a sweater going to be? And they're like, it's in Tarja and there's embroidery and blah, blah, blah. They're like $900. I was like, who the fuck is going to buy a $900 sweater? And they're like, yeah, we're in a luxury brand. I was like, we got to make a sweatshirt version of that. And they were like, oh, no. Like, why? Like, we have this sweater. It's gorgeous. And I was like,
the sweater that they didn't want you to make.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And they were like, no, we don't need that promotion. And I was like, okay. So we forced them to make it. And then when we made it, at the time, Marie Shea, who was my stylist, she really knew what was up. And so I remember we made all these pieces that felt very, I would say, more elevated than anything that we had done even prior to this. But she paired these like really elaborate skirts with sweatshirts. And people were like, is that cool? Like, is that the right thing? A sweatshirt on the runway? Sure.
But this was the exact moment where it was like kind of high-low runway and like marrying streetwear and luxury.
So, I mean,
we're like ahead of that to some degree.
At the time, streetwear wasn't in luxury. That was a passé thing. I mean, if you look at all the shows happening at that time, people were in luxury. They weren't trying to marry it. And so I remember putting it out and, and then we shot with Jean Paul Good. So in my briefing, when we went to interview for Kenzo, they were like, what's your vision? And I was like, we're going to get Jean Paul Good to shoot the campaign. They're like, do you know him? And I was like, no, but I'm going to call him. And they're like, okay. And so I tried to get him to shoot it the first season and he wasn't around. So the second season, I met him and it needed a courting. I went to coffee. I like hung out with him.
You to woo him?
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't shoot fashion. He's like, I shoot perfume campaigns and I shoot artists. He's like, I shoot what I can draw. So he's like, my issue with fashion is if I don't draw it the way you designed it, it's not going to be. And so we talked, and he was like, okay, he's like, I have this X formation I really want to do. And so we shot the campaign with these two, a male and a female, kind of like holding each other's legs in this X formation wearing. And I didn't say, let's put that sweatshirt in the campaign, but he was really good.
He was drawn to it.
So we were all like, okay, what should we do? We put all these outfits together. And that really was like the thing that felt the strongest in the look. And it wasn't a look from the runway. We just made this new look up.
Brand identity.
And so, we were all really excited about it. So we put it out there. And I mean, the minute that collection hit, I remember the stores calling me and they were like, so we made the sweatshirts. They ordered like 50 of them.
Oh, wow.
Like worldwide.
Right.
And the sweaters, they ordered like 300 of them worldwide.
And they were gone in 24 hours.
Before the store had even before the collection had even come into stores, there was a crazy waiting list. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, there's a 300-person waiting list for that sweater. I was like, in this one store.
Right.
Oh, so they're like, every store has this crazy waiting list. And I was like, that is so insane.
Did you walk in the office the next day just like, suck my fucking dick? We did it.
I'm a bit more chill.
Yeah.
A little more professional.
Yes, exactly. And so, so that was kind of like, I mean, that alone turned, in the years, we were heading towards $1 billion company.
Right.
Damn.
And like things were riding off of, and I created these icons. So it was the tiger, and then this eye thing came right after that, and the eyes were huge. And then we did a perfume off of the eyes. So there were like just these kind of moments of these icons that we were just delivering.
Did you stop getting internal resistance once you had proven success with like the sweatshirts and the tigers and the eyes and everything? Or was it still, was every season kind of like a battle where you had to like push your vision through?
What have you done for me lately?
Until it became a success.
Yeah.
I think in year 2 or 3, once they had something that they could really sink their teeth into. And I have to give it to the CEO was like smart.
Right.
And he really leveraged how to like turn that into a business.
Do you have this stuff? Like, do you still have like pieces like in an archive? Or?
I have everything.
Okay.
I have all of it.
What brands are most represented in your closet right now? Is it Kenzo and OC?
I mean, I have those in an archive. I wouldn't say that those are like.
But right now,
everywhere.
like, what are you wearing the most?
I am wearing some. Oh, I wear a lot of vintage.
Mhm.
So I have a lot.
Clearly.
I have a massive like Gautier vintage collection. So I wear that. I've been buying like diesel stuff. I went to Italy and that was fun. I love fashion. So
Yeah.
You love to shop, dude.
I do.
You're
But I
enthusiast.
buy a lot of non-brands. I go to like random stores in random countries and I just like shopping whatever.
When you travel, do you go with like one giant empty bag?
I generally do. I travel with a lot of empty bags.
What's your favorite country to shop in outside of the
Ooh.
US?
I mean, hands down, Japan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Japan's like
The number one.
ultimate shopping place.
Humberto, looking back, what has been the personal style phase you've gone through that now you cringe at the hardest?
Oh, cringe. I mean, I really value every stage.
Really?
I do.
'Cause they
Even
all
looking-
like lead to the next one.
It does. I would say right now, if I were to be like,
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm going to do that again. I would say it's like, or as, I don't know, I kind of feel like I went through like a really big preppy Americana phase.
With like what, like,
when?
Band of Outsiders era?
Mm.
Probably in that time period that I appreciate. I don't know if I'll revisit.
Right.
What is this, like pop collar polos? Like, what are we talking about?
I'm not Ferris Bueller.
Like a rep tie or
No, I think it was like just like really like I think head to toe like really kind of like Americana. I don't know. I mean, I would say that like
it's like boring, or did you like, jazz it up, or
I just think it was like I don't know, maybe like a form of assimilating into something that
Interesting.
I don't feel as
damn, what
interested
was
in.
going on in your life then?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like, growing up in America as an immigrant,
Mhm.
you feel this constant pressure and need to assimilate. And
Right.
I'm in a very non-assimilation phase of my life right now.
Good for you.
Where, and it's been going on for a bit, but even when I was at Kenzo, it was really going against assimilating. I was just really into, owning myself.
Well, Kenzo Takata, that was his whole thing. He was a Japanese guy in Paris and he
Yeah.
just fucking went to the flea markets, right? Like,
He was. And I think a lot of my work was going against that grain of what I was feeling living in Paris at the time.
oh, you were living in Paris while
At the
Kenzo?
time. Yeah, at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
Sick.
We mentioned Jesse Hudnut briefly. And for me, he's honestly like one of these guys that's maybe not like at putting himself out there as like a face or a guy, but he's somebody that for me personally is like super inspiring when it comes to personal style, even if I'm not like directly dressing like him. But are there real guys in your life? And again, maybe they're kind of behind the scenes or whatever, who inspire your personal style?
Yeah, I would say like my dad and my uncle growing up had fits that were like really kind of like, I would say Asian gangster style.
Ooh.
Fire.
And
I like that.
So that really inspired me. And then I think back to
What was Asian gangster
Yeah,
style?
describe that briefly.
like leather blazer,
I love it.
like a shirt with like button down to here, really low with a chain, polyester pants, maybe like a man purse,
What kind of
really
shoes?
kind of slick shoes, like
Okay.
like leather boots of some sort.
You're kind of describing Lawrence's style.
Well, not today, but back in New York,
But I feel like there was this kind of like
I'm an Asian gangster. Wannabe.
But yeah, so I think that has always really inspired me.
So
And
started at home.
started home, and then I think back to like my high school years and just like all the way that the kids dressed. I think back to them, some that I'm really good friends with, some that I'm not. But I just think like, oh shit, they had good outfits. And I couldn't afford much at the time.
Right.
So the ones that could, or the ones that put stuff together, I'm like, oh, they really did it legitimately. And I always think back to pre-internet
Right.
or pre-iPhone, pre any of those things, because to me, there's an authenticity to that I can really pull imagery from in
Right.
my mind.
Versus just people like mimicking what they see on
Yeah.
their phone.
I just think that there was, I think after the internet or after social media, I think that there was this meshing. It's kind of like music. Okay. Like I have the luxury of growing up without iTunes or anything. So pre iTunes. And so I was really into music, and I would find music through, I would like this artist, and then I would go to the record store.
You had to like dig in the crates.
Yeah, I was like, oh, who do you like? Oh, there. And then this person is like, oh, if you like that, like you'll like this. So I'm like finding stuff through that. And I think now you get to pick, and you're like, oh, that goth song sounds fun, and so does like Dua Lipa, and then also so does
or like an algorithm is
Rage
feeding
Against
you
the
recommendations anyway, right?
Yeah, and
On a
it's
playlist.
this kind of amazing salad culture to music that I think is really cool and interesting, but not as pure.
Right.
So I don't know. I live in this purity of the way. I don't know.
I believe that's called nostalgia, my friend.
It is, but it's also it's a purity that is like, when I think about alternative music, there's a very strong idea of what that means. And I think genres of music have blended in a way that it didn't ever blend like that before. Like alternative music would rarely kind of twist. It would be pop just because like Depeche Mode, like you would love Depeche Mode, and they're pop because a lot of people liked it, but they were always Depeche Mode.
Right.
They didn't try to become a pop band. You know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying. Okay, so what's worse, music snobs, fashion snobs, or food snobs?
Oh, probably music. I think music snobs
that's the most
are
snobbiest.
pretty, like,
when you're talking about like someone in a
snobby.
record store helping you out, I'm like, what record store where somebody helped you? Like
Other music.
speaking of gatekeeping, right?
But now that you've delved into the food world, like, are food snobs like the constant thorn in your side, pain in your ass?
Actually, all snobs are snobs. I mean, fashion snobs
true.
are snobs. They're all snobs. They're all
And we love them all.
equally snobby.
Is LA a better food city than New York City?
Ooh.
You're going to
wouldn't-
piss someone off.
I wouldn't
whatever
say,
you say.
I wouldn't say better. I would
Okay.
say different.
Yeah. Better Mexican food,
Yeah.
Way better Mexican food.
or at least the good Mexican food is more easily accessible,
Right.
Yeah.
Just on the
Exactly.
on
without
the-
going
there's
like
more
the
of
outskirts
it,
of
yeah.
Queens and shit.
There's more of it. I mean, I think that there's just, I wouldn't say better. I think just different. And there's different concentrations. There's more land. So you
Right.
get bigger concentrations of a type of cuisine.
Do you have a favorite food city worldwide? If you had to give it like, last meal and you could travel anywhere, like where are you? Or a week's worth of meals, where are we going?
I would say Japan.
Oh,
Tokyo?
okay.
I mean, yeah,
Is it
it's
Tokyo?
I mean, it could be Tokyo, it could be any of those. I mean, the cool thing about the prefectures in Japan is that each one specializes in one thing,
Right.
like shrimp, dried shrimp, and then you have this
Go to
whole
the shrimp store.
You go to like the train station, it's like shrimp cracker, everything, shrimp cracker, ice cream, shrimp cracker, everything, and so
Bubba
like.
Gump, you're on notice.
Yeah, so every area is specialized in one thing, which I
Yeah.
find so
Isn't
interesting.
that like the beauty of Japan, where it's like that specialization on a level that is untouchable, right?
Exactly. I mean, I think that goes back to that kind of music authenticity. I keep talking about this, but yeah, it goes back to that same. I think I like this purity.
You got to open a record store. That's
Yeah, dude, right?
next
Is that on
venture.
I don't
deck?
know. I don't know if that's in the.
Did
I
you
don't
guys
know.
ever sell? Didn't you sell records at OC?
We did.
Yeah.
I mean, we at the time. I remember like Kingdom will tell you like, oh, he feels like him putting his CD at the store really kind of helped his career. He just recently told me that, and I was like, oh, really? But I remember like Solange launched her album, and
Yeah,
we were like
that's right.
pre-launching it with her. It was cool. I mean, we used that platform
That's like A&Rs.
for anything. We used it for so many different things.
OC Records, baby.
Yeah.
Well, Shifa
Our
is
dreams
known.
come true.
Shifa's known for its fire cuisine. You guys got the Michelin Bib Gourmand. What's some shit? But you're also known for like the creative endeavors in and around the whole like Shifa universe. You've done a bunch of collaborations. Do you have a dream collab that you'd want to do with Shifa?
I mean, so many.
Speaking to existence.
I know. I mean, I think the idea of the collabs was always about bringing people in and creating a dish with them. That would be really fun. Like, I don't know, doing a dish with like LeBron James. Like,
Ooh.
that would be kind of fun.
Does he have good taste in food? What does
What'd
he
it be?
eat?
I don't know.
I'm sure it'd be like some
doesn't
healthy
matter.
shit, right? It'd be
Yeah.
like steamed broccoli.
You're like,
and,
I'm going to
chicken
sell him out. I
That
don't
sounds
care.
cool.
LeBron, dude. Who gives a shit?
Or with like an artist, or I don't know. I feel like it's always been just kind of like doing fun stuff with, kind of unexpected people.
David Hockney's full English breakfast now
Yes.
available at Shifa.
But it's always, I feel like what I realize later in life is that all the things that I've worked on, like if you think about opening ceremony, I feel like what lasted longer than anything is the feeling you got when you visited or bought something there.
Right.
And it lasts longer than the product. And if you could transfer that feeling to multiple things, I think that's where you get Chifa. That's where you get things that I try to bring this kind of duality and multiplicity in all the things that I do, and community, and bringing people together to work on fun stuff together.
Well, when you're hitting the town with that community and having a night out, again, you're living dad life right now, but like when you've had a few too many, what's your go-to hangover meal?
I mean, I actually really rarely have one too many, but I'll fictionalize this a
Yes,
little bit.
please.
I would say a bowl of noodle soup.
Ooh,
And that could be a Chinese, like a duck noodle soup, duck and barbecue pork noodle soup,
Oh.
or it could be a bowl of pho. It could be a menudo. I think any type of noodle soup will hit the spot.
Is that also your go-to, like kind of just like comfy, like cozy meal?
Yeah, it's the meal that I think I just feel like it's warmed me up. It's like gonna make me
It's good for the
pull
soul.
whatever threw me
Yeah,
out
right.
of me.
At least it talks by injecting some more.
Yeah.
What about, okay, trends in the food world that you hope we leave behind in 2022? What are those? Speaking of someone on the front lines.
In the trenches.
Okay. I feel like sun-dried tomatoes trying to make a comeback, and I'm just not down for it.
Dude, I do
No.
not like them myself, man.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I feel like it was in the 90s and people are trying to bring Y2K back, 2000.
You're telling me his son dried this tomato? Yes. Yes, I am.
I
So also
just-
people try them with like baked Alaskas. It's like, no, like leave the 80s in the 80s, leave the 90s in the 90s.
Yeah. Also, this might upset some people,
Go off.
go.
but
Hell yeah.
you know that like Italian, I don't know the name of it, the Italian loaf that they send around Christmas with like
Oh, the
A
Pan-
fruit cake? Like
I think we call it a fruit cake.
Okay,
I think
but
they
it's
call
like
it something.
Panna cotta? No,
Not
what the
a
fuck
panna
is it?
something, but
Yeah.
not
which is
cotto.
Italian for bread.
Yeah. Panna Christmas.
But somebody was like,
Ew,
"Oh,
dude.
like actually, that's really cool." And
It
I'm
has like fruit and nuts in
Yeah.
it, right?
and I'm
Ugh.
like, "No, I don't want fruits or nuts in a bread."
It's like it lasts like 8 weeks. You're
Yeah.
like, something's wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's like,
So these
Shit
are
came
things.
stale.
These are things that I don't know. That's a tradition. I don't know if it should go away. Just
Wow.
not for me. Just
the
not for
Italians
me.
are coming.
This is
through.
an anti-Italian sentiment, dude.
No.
What's going on?
We're actually an anti-Italian podcast. Humberto, how much money do you make?
Very little.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You don't feel properly compensated for your hard work?
I just don't think at this time in life it's about the money. I think it's
Oh,
about,
okay.
I just feel like I'm in a phase in my life where I just want to do fun and cool things. I made a music video for this band called the Linda Lindas, and that was just out of purity and heart. And that was so fun and so cool.
You're about collaborating with friends.
I just
And
want
people
to
that
make
inspire you.
cool shit.
And
I
then
think-
what I'm hearing is the band didn't pay you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, I would think I think no one paid anybody.
Yeah, right.
Let's just put it that way.
way.
Like, I think when you look at a video, you generally just realize
Yeah.
no one got
Right.
paid.
Well, when some money does find its way into your pockets, what do you like to spend your hard-earned money on? Is everything just reinvesting back into the business? Is it like your daughter, giving her?
I
the
mean,
good life?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. But, I also want them to like learn like how hard it is to make money. But, I like to eat food. I feel like, we're only in this world for so long. And I think it's nice to really kind of eat good food that's good for you.
Can you tell us real quick your go-to, like your must-hit LA spots? Since we're only in town for like a few days.
excluding Chifa, obviously.
Oh man. Must go to food places.
Or just the number one, if you have a number one. Like, if I told you tonight we had a reservation at Horses, are you going to scoff or are you going to be impressed?
No, that's delicious. I don't.
I just wanted to get that on record. We got a reservation.
You better confirm. They're gonna be mad.
Oh
at
no!
you.
I confirmed yesterday.
And if
my
you
friend.
change any people in there, they'll be mad at you. If you're like show up with 2 and you had a reservation
Yeah.
for 4,
What's the
No.
you'll get
goodbye
dirty looks the whole
horses?
time.
nah, just Jimmy and
Yeah, are there
Larry.
any like hole in the wall spots that, like, again, if you want to gatekeep them, You're going to gatekeep.
I know. I
them.
generally don't like revealing any of these things.
You're
to
perfect for
anybody.
podcasting.
I know.
We are on the most listened to fashion podcast in
Yeah.
the world.
There's a place called The Corner Place that serves this really special cold noodle Korean noodle dish. That's a cucumber based cold noodle cucumber
Sounds
dish.
great.
We're hitting that.
It's
immediately.
delicious, really
Okay.
delicious. And that's the one dish that they're really known for there.
Okay.
Humberto, last money question. What loses more money, fashion or food?
I don't think you don't lose money in food. You
Really?
Gain, you
That's
gain
not what we've heard.
happiness.
You just don't make money.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean in terms of like working
business,
and
yeah,
business? I think if you're smart, I mean, you met my sister. My sister's a very smart gal. So I think it's about having the right people that could show the passion, but could also manage the business because they're hand in hand.
Is that how you guys split the workload? Is like you're the creative, she's like the business?
She is, yeah.
Your head's in the clouds. Her head's in the books. Making sure that
Exactly.
it's by the book.
And I think fashion, I think at some point in time, people were like, let's change the system. I think if you change the system, I think it could be good. But I think in a system that is the way we know it today, it's a hard place.
It's a bit antiquated for sure, which is like all those brands you were shouting out, or the brand you shouted out that's like making exciting things happen on IG, just DTC. Like is that not the future?
Yeah.
And where things are
I'm
going?
into DTC. I think as a consumer, it's just, when you talk about like transparency and just really wanting to support, I feel like there's a more genuine, reach from that.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And like not just direct sales, but like a more direct, potentially direct connection.
Yeah.
between
Direct connection,
brand
and I think
customer.
there's a more of a freedom of creating something interesting. I think when you're wholesaling, you're being dictated.
Oh,
there's
totally.
a layer of dictation
Right.
from
Red
those
tape.
wholesalers.
That you have to get through.
When I talk about that middle layer, so I think removing that middle layer is interesting.
Don't make this sweatshirt.
Cutting
Wait,
out the
make more
middleman.
of this sweatshirt.
Cutting out the middleman, literally.
Yes.
Humberto, it's time to get into the third and final topic of this podcast, which is dad sucking and fucking.
Meats and cheeks.
So we gotta
Sex and
know,
dating.
for all the aspiring sex havers who are listening right now, what's the best meal to cook for that special third date when you invite your partner back to the crib and you really want to impress them, but you don't want to get too gassy
Yeah.
and you want to fuck later that night?
Man. Shoot. Well, don't make a salad.
Yeah, you need carb load.
Yeah, right? Hopefully you're about to run a marathon.
I don't know, an oxtail soup.
Really? Really? No way.
I don't know. Is this person
Cold
a vegetarian?
noodles.
I mean, I'm
No
a big-
dietary restrictions.
No dietary restrictions. I would say an oxtail soup.
Oxtail soup?
Oxtail soup?
Someone is going to do this and they're going to get laid off that recommendation without a doubt.
Or
Laid
they're gonna-
off or laid?
both.
Laid.
Oh, laid. Okay.
Laid based on.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Or
Or
the,
you get
I was like,
fired
laid-
'cause they brought oxtail soup to the office, sticking up the whole fucking place. I hope you brought enough to share with the whole class.
all right, so make some oxtail soup and you might get lucky.
That's my recommendation.
That is
It's
absurd
all of
advice.
It's rich, it's nutritious, but if you have a poor constitution, you might have some fucking diarrhea.
Oh, man.
Which could
You
ruin
know
the night.
what? If you can't handle it, then maybe
Meat
it's
is
not
falling
the
off
right-
all types of bones that night. I'll tell you that
Yeah.
much.
If you can't handle the oxtail soup, get the fuck out the kitchen.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you're scoffing it, then maybe that's not the right date.
Ooh, good point. Okay.
Are you nice in the kitchen yourself?
Yeah.
What's your go-to dish that you make at home?
Oh, I mean, my mom taught me to cook a lot of her signature dishes. So like a caramelized spare rib.
Ooh.
We do this kind of like steamed egg with pork in it.
Bro,
Cooking
I need the invite, dude. This sounds awesome.
cooking a really well seasoned vegetable. I think that's key because there's nobody likes a bland vegetable.
Right. And like a rare skill.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
where
that's
people just don't
key.
put the time and focus into the veggies on the side, you know?
It's about blanching. I'll give you the secret. I normally don't give this. It's about blanching.
It's all about blanching.
Blanch your shit.
Exactly.
Blanche boys in the building tonight.
Humberto, we got to thank you
Yeah,
for coming
thanks,
out
buddy.
to the only podcast that matters. You're obviously just a legend. in the game, fashion, food, and ostensibly music. That being said, we would love to offer up our constructive criticisms that you could do even better,
Okay.
if possible.
Tell me.
Take it or leave it. How should you take it? I'll go first. Have Chifa cater the party that we're throwing at the Mohawk General Store later this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, bring some of those caramelized ribs you were saying, and like
Yeah.
bring some
24
blanched
hours of
veggies.
notice. Is that enough?
Interesting. Yeah. Let's talk about the budget after this.
Okay. Another thing that we might have to talk about when it comes to budget, James and I are in the process of working on our own cut and sew clothing line, but we are absent a creative director. I don't know if we can afford you, but if you want to take on some more shit, add to that plate of blanched veggies and spare
All
ribs.
right. Sounds fun.
You know?
Let's talk after this.
Let's expand that resume.
I don't know if Polar Fleece blazers are like
Yeah.
in the repertoire just yet. Maybe just like some regular.
We got to
shirts.
build up to it, you know?
But we'll get there.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll get to the Polar Fleece blazers.
It's
one
too
day.
soon. In
Yeah.
5 years, you're gonna be like, "Fuck, we
Fuck.
should have made those."
He was
Polar
right. Well, we'll
Fleece
be dead in
blazers.
5 years, but in 4 years, we might be like, damn, I think he was right.
Yeah. As we're being felled by our ops swords, we'll be like, "Oh, Humberto was right."
Yeah.
Humberto, thank you again for coming on to the only podcast that matters. Where can the kids follow you? Is there anything you want to plug?
The floor is yours,
What are
sir.
your socials?
Just, at Humberto, and we are opening a new restaurant in a month. That's the secret that's being let out.
Breaking
shit.
news.
The first to hear it.
When does this pod come out?
Yeah, when does this come?
It might be open. It might be open. So do you want
When is
to?
it? come out?
Mid January.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'll open on January 13th.
Oh
Let's
wow!
fucking
Look at that.
go.
Perfect timing.
Is it going to be part of the Chief? Is it Chifa 2, son of Chifa? What
It's
is it
called
about?
Monarch,
Ooh,
and
regal.
it's meant to feel like the idea is that everyone who walks in should feel like a deity, and
Mm.
I love it.
there's no reason why we should have our best meal in the afterlife. So
Oh.
that's the inspiration for the space.
How thoughtful.
What cuisine we talking?
Hong Kong style cuisine.
Okay,
Oh,
fire. Is
we'll
it
be
in?
there. We'll be
Eagle
It's
Eye?
in Arcadia.
Arcadia. Where's that?
It's about 15 minutes from here.
Okay.
Lana Del Rey sang a song about
Oh, that's
Arcadia.
right. There's a tunnel
Arcadia.
underneath Ocean Boulevard. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know.
I don't know. That's the name of her new song.
Oh, okay.
All right, Humberto. Thank you again for coming on to the only podcast that matters. Chef, take us out.